by the pricking of my thumbs. Something wicked this way comes.
สวัสดีค่ะเริ่มต้นเขมเพชร Content Creator ของ The Standard Pop ค่ะทุกคนคะเคยได้ยินเรื่องของ Macbeth อัศวินที่ถูกทำนายว่าจะได้เป็นกษัตริย์องค์ใหม่ของสกอตแลนด์แต่ถูกความโลภและความทะเยอทะยานของตัวเขาเองเนี่ยกลับมาทำลายชีวิตจนเสียสติและจบชีวิตลงอย่างน่าอนาถไหมคะจากบทละครเวทีขนาดสั้นเรื่องนี้ของเชคสเปียร์นะคะกำลังจะกลายมาเป็นภาพยนตร์เรื่องล่าสุดของ Apple TV Plus ชื่อว่า The Tragedy of Macbeth ซึ่งเป็นผลงานกำกับของหนึ่งในพี่น้องโคเอนอย่างโจโคเอนผู้กำกับจากเรื่อง No Country for Old Men ครั้งนี้เนี่ยถือว่าเป็นการกำกับเดี่ยวเรื่องแรกของเขาเลยโดยได้นักแสดง2รางวัลออสการ์อย่าง Denzel Washington มารับบทเป็น Macbeth และ Frances McDormand มารับบทเป็น Lady Macbeth ค่ะและในอีกไม่กี่ชั่วโมงข้างหน้านะครับเรากำลังจะได้สัมภาษณ์กับ Denzel Washington พร้อมด้วย2นักแสดงสมทบทั้ง Corey Hawkins ผู้รับบท Macduff และ Alex Hassell ผู้รับบท Ross ลูกสมุนของ Macbeth ค่ะแต่ก่อนที่จะไปเจอกับพวกเขาทั้ง3คนอย่าลืมกด subscribe แล้วก็เปิด notification ของช่อง The Standard Pop ด้วยนะคะ
If we should fail,
we fail.
Hi Denzel, I'm เริ่มต้น from the Stand Up Thailand.
my pleasure.
I want to jump back into like when you grow up, what's your first experience of Shakespeare, like from books, from school, or from what?
Yeah, not till college. My senior year of college, I played Othello, and that was really my introduction to Shakespeare.
You've done Shakespeare before prior to this, like Julius Caesar or Much Ado About Nothing. But how familiar are you with the story of Macbeth?
I wasn't before, I really dug in. I hadn't seen Macbeth before, not on stage. So, but this is the way to see it.
Macbeth has been, adapted into so many versions before for this film. How do you feel that this version is going to be different from the others?
Actually, I haven't seen any of the others. So no, I hadn't seen it before I was asked to do the play, to do the film. And once I was asked, I didn't want to see it because I didn't want it to affect what we were going to imagine.
What interests you to say yes to this project?
Well, it's Joel Coen and it's Shakespeare and it's Frances McDormand. That's reason enough.
Right. And what was it like working with alongside with two incredible people?
They bring the best out of you because you know that they're coming with their best and that they really care about what they were doing, and so that just was inspiring for me to want to do my best.
Last but not least, what is the most important thing that the audience can take away from the tragedy of Macbeth?
I never try to answer that because it always depends upon what people bring to the movie, who they are and where they are in their life. But it's a beautifully told story and beautifully directed and acted, if I may say, by all the actors, and just enjoy the ride.
Yeah, and I did enjoy it. I just finished it this afternoon, so I loved it.
Good, thank you.
Yeah, so thank you so much, Denzel, for joining us today, and thank you and stay safe.
Thank you so much.
I have no words. My voice is in my sword.
Hi Corey, I'm เริ่มต้น from the Stand Up Thailand. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well.
You've played Romeo and Juliet before and started out your acting career in theater, but I want to know how familiar are you with the story of Macbeth?
I got the opportunity to play Macbeth in college too, at Juilliard. So I was pretty familiar with the play and having worked on it, but also having seen, many versions of it on stage and film as well.
As you say, it has been adapted into so many versions, both in film and TV, but how do you feel that this version of Macbeth is going to be different from the others?
Just immediately, as soon as, from the opening moments of this film, it takes your breath away. Also, the fact that Shakespeare can hold so much, it's a thriller. And Joel Coen, this is his sort of solo venture, with this film. But I feel like Shakespeare was sort of the Coens before the Coens were the Coens, you know what I mean? And so, you know, and Joe will probably be like, what, Corey, what are you talking about? But like, you know, it's very Coen-esque, and film has a bit of that noir, a bit of that sort of everything that, you know, at the end of the day, it all comes back around, you know, and morality versus goodness. But it's thrilling, man, like to watch what he does with the sets and with the music, with the, you know, it's just a beautiful mixed bag of cinema.
Like the production design is like another level, like it's sublime, I would say. And you play Macduff, who's like kind of like the opposite side of Macbeth, like what he represents. And but what was it like working with the one and only Denzel Washington?
The one and only, man, you got that right. But he doesn't lead. You know, it's crazy. It's like he doesn't lead with that. You know, when you're in the room with him, you know, it's about the work first and foremost. He just has this way of sort of disarming and just being inside of it. He encourages everybody else around him to do that as well. It's like to have a good time and to dive in and create this company. And that's what we did. And I got to see the joy in him and Frances, you know, still challenging themselves at this point in their careers. And Joel, like, again, they don't have to do this, you know, but the fact that they are, you know, taking this step, they could just, you know, they could easily just put it to the side, but they're continuing to challenge and take risks. And so for me, it's just incredible to watch, because that's what I want to continue doing in my career, and hopefully with people like them, you know, more.
And like I just finished it this afternoon as like chef kiss.
Exactly.
The last question, Macbeth is one of the classic plays, and in your opinion, what's the thing that makes it stand the test of time?
Because Shakespeare's plays have lasted for so long, in the same way that, you know, each time you watch a play, the cast of characters change, right? You know, you watch a different version, it's a different cast. He was writing plays about life and what was going on, the kings and the queens, the palace intrigue and all of that. And it stand the test of time because those cast of characters just continue to change, you know, whether it's kings and queens or politicians, or it's you and I talking about fate and trying to figure out whether or not this is my choice or if this is the way things are supposed to be. That's just the thrilling part about it, man. And it's just a pleasure to work on a piece of film, on a film that feels alive still all these years later. And it's really hard to make that happen to something that's been done over and over and over and over. But Joel does it. He does it.
So thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you, Corey.
Thank you.
It's been fun. Thank you. Stay safe.
Are you a man?
Aye, and a bold one, that dare look upon that which might appall the devil.
Hi, Alex. I'm เริ่มต้น
Hi.
of Thailand. Hi.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. The first question is, I want to know that you've done so many Shakespeare, like Henry IV and V, but how familiar are you with the story of Macbeth?
Well, actually, very helpfully for me, I had just directed a production of Macbeth for my own theatre company, so I knew it pretty well. And I think if one is an actor and is interested in Shakespeare, you tend to come upon lots of the famous plays or the famous speeches and characters. So I certainly was, before that, pretty familiar. But yeah, I had a really intimate knowledge of the play, which was very, very helpful going into this.
What's your first experience about of Shakespeare? Like what, from the books or from the classroom or from what?
Yeah, I think my first experience was studying it in school when I was really quite young. I think we did Julius Caesar, and it left me cold. I guess the environment wasn't such that it was inspiring. But then when I really started to fall in love with it is when I was about 17, doing English with a different teacher at school, Mrs. Stroud. We did Hamlet, and the way that she managed to explain it, I just could really see quite how unbelievably deep and complex and fascinating and enlightening and enriching and enlivening Shakespeare's words were, just to sort of read and imagine. But then at the same time, we decided to put on a production of Hamlet at school, and I was Hamlet. So I got to really embody all of that work, and it was a very, very profound and formative experience for me.
Right. Thanks to her, and it brings you to the this film. Can you explain to me about a little bit about your character?
Yeah, so I play Ross, the Thane of Ross, who is like the equivalent of a lord, I guess, in Scotland at the time. He kind of becomes a confidant or consigliere type character to the Macbeths. But the version of the character that Joel has written and that I've attempted to embody has potentially a darker, more complicated agenda. Means that he has a really different journey through the film than he does in the play.
Last question. Macbeth is one of the classic play, and in your opinion, what do you think that is about the story that makes it stand the test of time?
For me, what I love so much about Macbeth is the incredibly dense nature of the language and the imagery and the moral questioning. But for me, it's the imagery and how very streamlined it is as a piece of writing that just sort of feels like a knife. You're on a knife edge the whole time, and it never lets you off the hook. And I think that's amazing.
Yeah, and I love that. I just finished the show like this afternoon. I loved it. It's so modern, but it's still Shakespeare to the core. Very hardcore Shakespeare. Yeah. So
thank you so much. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Thank you so much for joining us today. So thank you and stay safe.
Pleasure. Thank you, and you take care.
Thank you.